Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Made for More podcast. Today, I am joined by an absolute powerhouse of a leader in the series of Leadership Your Way. I'm joined by Renee. Renee has a long history of leading large teams in highly strategic but practical workplaces where people, service, and positive experiences are at the heart of everything they do. As the head of people at Peregrine Corporation over the past 3 years, she is a strong people and culture leader with extensive experience and a strong track record in developing and delivering strategic roadmaps, extensive growth, and business transformation. She is passionate and motivated to make a positive impact on the lives and careers of people who work within her business. She strives to create a workplace where people want to be a part of something exciting and take ownership and accountability in the organization's success. If you are looking for a very, very high achieving leader who is deeply passionate about the people part of leadership, tune in today. It is an absolute cracker of an episode. Let's dive on in. Welcome to the Made for More podcast. I'll be sharing my experiences along with some actionable advice to take your leadership to the next level. Introducing your host, it's me, Ali Nitschke. I'm a leadership and courageous conversations expert, a Nutella lover, a mother of 4 young boys, a wife, and a dance floor junkie. I'm here to give you the motivation you need to level up, lead yourself, lead your team, and your business. Let's go. Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Made for More podcast. Today, I am very excited to be joined by an absolute powerhouse, Renee Draper. Good morning, Renee. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks, Ali. That's very kind of you. Powerhouse.
Oh, you absolutely are. We're going to hear more about that today, I think. So, Renee, for our listeners, tell me a little bit about where you've come from and where you're going.
Sure. I'll probably keep just across my executive career. I started off with an opportunity at a very young age to become an operational executive for Mission Australia, being the first national training and HR ops manager. So that really kicked off the journey into what I do now. But I started in all things operations, really. So managing the government programs, RTOs, not OTRs. That's what I work for now. And really from there loved and had a real passion for the not-for-profit world. And running youth programs, the business programs, government funded, and really connecting people with the ability to grow their life and careers, essentially. So I was very, very blessed. Then had the opportunity to move into Bedford. I again went in there as head of HR and training. And again, I had sensational leaders and support, and had the ability to kind of get connected in the job network industry as well, even though I touched on it in Mission Australia. So the ability to expand the portfolio and work across multiple complex industries in the disability sector. And from there was tapped on the shoulder with the opportunity to launch into medical, and probably take on my first ever sole HR role. And I kind of fell in HR. So that was exciting. Did, over close to 9 years at Benson Radiology as their head of people and culture, and 8.5 years there, and had the opportunity to experience what I think I'm just so blessed, which is completely restructure and corporatize, a family-run operating business, and take it from 12 partners to 25 and a CEO model. and grow the operations by 75% with hand-picked colleagues. So truly blessed. And as you know, all good things come to an end, and it was time to kind of launch my career, my next step. And that really was instigated by my daughter finally started school. And I felt that I really had one huge gig in me. And I think worlds aligned. I got asked and got welcomed into Peregrine, but most people would know Peregrine, which has companies underneath that, as OTR, and several of our quick service restaurant brands, which is ranges from Krispy Kreme, Hungry Jack's, Subway, Wok in a Box, GYG, to name a few. And, you know, I now overall accountable and responsible for just over 6,000 staff and soon to be 10 entities.
Wow.
And it's been an absolute delightful whirlwind, really, in amongst throwing in a couple of years of COVID in between that.
Yep. My goodness. Now, I'm always very interested when people start leadership at a young age. I too started very early on, and I think age in itself has a limiting factor when it comes to leading and, more importantly, influencing people. So with your first gig when you first entered into an exec role in Mission Australia, what was the transition like from, stepping into that leadership role?
It was awful, if I was to be completely honest, on reflection. But the lessons learnt through that experience, I would not be where I am today if I had not actually gone through that. So certainly as a female leader, and I'll be truthfully honest, probably the youngest national leader, working with a more senior dominant male exec team, certainly was a challenge. Mm-hmm. And that was a daily challenge for me, having the belief and self-confidence, but I had the support of brilliant general manager and the CEO at the time. But, you know, I learned the lessons that it's a big step, and I think I got the first lesson of, you know, a title doesn't automatically get you respect, and your ability to give directions. It's all earned through, proven results and collaboration and communication and sharing, you know, the vision and the strategy and, you know, all the things that you know now as you get through your career. But at the time, you know, and to be honest, I probably had an I mentality, because you're young, you're ambitious, you want to grow your career. It's about what it's in it for you, rather than team.
Yeah.
And the way that should be in the language.
Yes, love that. You and we and us. So you mentioned around the transformation that happened at Benson, where you went from 12 to 25 partners, grew the operations significantly, and then you said, I've got one last big gig in me. So tell me what it was that I guess excited you about joining Peregrine, and in terms of like the one last big gig, you obviously knew that it was going to be a huge job.
Yeah, so when I refer to one last big gig, we're the largest South Australian employer, and I'm not sure that I'm ever going to get a gig bigger than what I've got now in South Australia. And I'm an Adelaide girl, and my children, I want them to grow up in Adelaide. So that's why I won't be looking at other opportunities elsewhere. But that's why I say it was one last big gig. It was the ability to come in and support the directors in transforming a very large family-owned operating business to a corporate entity.
Mm-hmm. And is in terms of the transition, there's a huge mindset shift in both the leadership team as well as the
Yes.
staff as well. So how are you going with that journey at the moment?
It's been amazing. It's been everything that I thought it would be. I think when I eventually retire, I'll write a book about, how to transform owner-operator businesses at some stage. It's a journey, and you need to remember that it's tough, it's a journey, it's frustrating, but as long as I think you've got a clear vision and you're as determined and highly resilient, and you wake up every day knowing your why, you just keep on nudging, and over time you reflect and you look at 6 months, and we reflect every quarter. And I think to myself mentally, we're not going quick enough. But when you truly look what has been achieved in the 4.5 years, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Amazing. So you and I first met in real life at a event. I saw you speaking on stage, and you were going through sort of your daily routine, and it was a women's conference. So there was a lot of conversation in the room and across the conference about, this work-life balance and how do we do it all. And I remember after your session, I was equal parts like, oh my gosh, this woman is absolutely incredible. And also I need to do more, but also I need a little bit of a rest and a nap afterwards as well. So I know that you're very, very driven, and a lot of that comes to your big why. Can you share your big why?
My why is the ability to create a operational environment where every human can be the best version of themselves, and drive their own career and pathway, no matter what that is. And that's very true with Peregrine, because we actually get to work with every single age range, across the entire life cycle, and all generations. And so the why is just the ability to essentially get to that point where people are like, go work at Peregrine. It's amazing. You can drive your own career, and there's opportunities everywhere, and everyone can be in the driver's seat.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm certainly noticing there's a big shift in the corporate world around the way that staff are treated, around going, actually, we want them to shine in their own unique way. We don't want people to be carbon copies of themselves. What is it that makes them uniquely sparkle that we can start bringing and implementing within the team? And from what I've seen with some of the team at Peregrine is that you certainly celebrate the differences and the diversity. And I think that's pretty remarkable. And the fact that that's been your driving why is certainly reflecting in the workforce there as well. So in terms of resilience, and I think, everyone in the world, in Australia has shown certain levels of resilience because we've had to. What do you understand resilience to be, and how do you build resilience for yourself, but also for your team?
Sure. So first question being my definition of resilience.
Yeah.
Is the ability to pick yourself up and keep on going.
Yeah.
Really. In every single situation.
Yeah.
How do you create that across? Certainly, I think you can offer the tools. I was very honoured to back at Benson's become RORA accredited, which is the specific RORA resilience model. So actually equipping myself with qualifications in the areas that I wanted to grow and not master for an organisation, but master for myself.
Yeah.
So with resilience is actually training your team and supporting your team and providing them with the tools to understand the levers that they can pull. But it's not just about the professional world, it's holistically life. I'm fully aware that, particularly in my field, that when I'm dealing with an issue, I can guarantee pretty much 99% of the time that the issue is just not solely work.
Yeah. Yep.
So when I look at people and I look at, every situation on its own unique basis, I'm looking at what levers I can help pull for that individual, or levers I can guide them to pull themselves.
Yeah, brilliant. I love that.
Yeah.
And in terms of your own, I guess, resilience tools and self-care well-being, what do you do as part of your daily, weekly, monthly practices?
Well, daily, I work out every day. I think you heard my horrific time of day. But
Tell me again.
I'm not a 5 a.m. girl. Unfortunately, I'm a 4 a.m. girl.
Oh my God.
I get up really early, and I enjoy making my children's lunches and having my short black before I hit the CrossFit World workout. And that refills my cup.
Yeah.
Can't say I kill it every day, but I show up despite if I want to or not, because my mind is actually trained to automatically go to like the 3 p.m. where I'm feeling exhausted and cranky and no one wants to be around me. So that's really important.
Yeah.
And then I'm straight in it. I set my priorities. I've got top 3 priorities for the day. I've really worked on mastering the art of productivity. Yeah. Yeah. And shaping out the noise. And for me and for leading a really large team, I have like 72 team members across the kind of people and culture function. Yeah. And it's all about rhythm. It's all about rhythm.
I love that. Can you expand on that?
Sure. So our rhythm, it's a bit like, a rhythm of a talent management cycle. But our rhythm is all about, setting your top 3 priorities. Everyone understands, what is expected of them. So each team member has what we call an A player agreement, which is essentially a very clear performance contract. That's written in consultation with them, and we sign up to our big, hairy, audacious goals for the year.
Love it.
And then we set our routines from there. So I have essentially I call it the Fast 5 on a Monday, where I go through and we recognise the wins and the areas we need to work on, and set the priorities across the team for the week, and look at the metrics we've got to look at, and then the team go quickly through and whip through their top priorities, and then each of the team and their sub-departments have their huddles, so they share an operational metrics. And for those that don't know what I'm talking about, if you're very interested, our culture is really based on the Rockefeller habits.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Yes. If no one's done it or listened, Scale Up is a sensational book from Vern Harnish, and some great training if anyone's interested. But they're really all based. So we have our huddles, and then it's all about meeting regime. Really. Yep. So everything has a really set agenda. It's all very regimented. It's always reviewed annually. We've got weekly reporting, you have your monthly reporting, and then we have our fortnightly, weekly coaching and catch-up sessions as well. And every team member has an individual development plan which they're responsible for driving, because we're driving a growth mentality. So the people that fit well with us is the ones that drive their own careers. And then we roll into quarterly reviews, 6 monthly reviews, and just really keeping on track that, who, what, when, what's happening after every meeting. So you don't always get it right, and there's always business disturbances, but I'm pretty regimented about reflecting and going, okay, we've lost track. We're going to get back into the routine. You set the routine. And I guess that's kind of a bit like my personal life. It's pretty regimented.
Yeah.
But my babies, they don't know any difference. My husband doesn't know any difference. They operate on my regime. So, but that's what keeps us happy and works for us. Does not to push how I do things on others, but it just works for me.
I love it. And I always think the more structured you are, the more freedom you have, because you're able to get everything sort of aligned. But what I really loved was when you were first expanding on it around setting your priorities, clear expectations, and the A-player agreement. And I think in this day and age, we're so overwhelmed with which thing to do first. We're trying to do a little bit of everything at the same time. And you're already an expert in productivity mastery, so you would know this. But having that clear rhythm and cadence and discipline to go, okay, what is it that we actually are focusing on? What's our priority for the day, for the week, for the month, for the quarter, can absolutely change the way that a team operates. Is that sort of where you're focusing on at the moment? Because you guys are moving so quickly and you've got, just a small handful of staff to look after. By the time we're talking 6,000, there's not really a lot of time, I guess, to wonder what's coming next.
No, but you have to make time. So I'm a big believer in time blocking.
Yep.
So I time block to think.
So you do block out white time.
100%. So I can tell you the reason I can do this podcast is because Fridays is all blocked out.
Oh, we're in thinking time right now.
Yes. So, but I see this as thinking time, because as I talk, I self-reflect myself. So, yes, I have to. Wouldn't have the ability to lead the team or actually contribute at a senior exec level if I didn't reflect on what has been, what I've got coming. I've got to lead a very large, complex and navigate through that, and that takes time. That takes thought.
Yeah, absolutely. And correct me if I'm wrong. I think I remember from your session, do you actually do this you do your reflection every night?
Every night. Every night. So in the mornings as I'm drinking my coffee, but my self-reflection every night when I drive home.
Yeah.
And if I'm home, I basically I don't shut down until I've just noted the day and plan for the next.
Yeah. That's your turn off.
Doesn't the more you do it, the quicker it gets.
Yes. You get into a bit of a cadence on reflection and reflective practices as well. So if you were to reflect on your career so far, what do you think would be some of the key highlights?
The key highlights. I think surviving some of my leadership experiences. But as I said, reflection is through every very tough experience you lean into. It depends what lens you put on it, and I choose to look for the learning in everything. So I wouldn't be here if I didn't have that view. If I call out some of my biggest highlights was the transformation of Benson Radiology and the people and the culture and what we achieved there, and I would still consider them family. And here is the achievement that when I arrived we're about 140 stores and we're going to hit over 200. And that I've earned the respect and the trust of the senior leadership team and my directors, and I think that's a huge achievement.
So when you're saying you've earned the trust, was that deliberate? Like, did you go in with a strategy when you first joined Peregrine? You're going, you know what, I've learned from my early leadership days that just because I've got the title doesn't mean I get the influence. Did you have a specific strategy on how you would connect with those senior leadership team, how you would collaborate to be able to earn and cultivate that environment of trust?
Yeah, absolutely. But unfortunately, anyone that's been in a senior HR leadership position, sometimes I have to make decisions that are very unfavourable to move the organisation forward. So if I was to be really frank, my job when I got here quickly, and I think I'd do that because I really am aligned with the values here. I generally care. That's really and first most my value. So showing how much I care, and I had to make some really tough decisions. So to be honest, I established trust, and structurally I had to make some decisions to move the organisation forward, and I lost a lot of trust. Yeah. But now I'd say I'm ultimately best mates with all those people that I probably lost it with, and have the respect, and that goes both ways, and it's a journey. But I think being vulnerable, but maintaining the line of professionalism and confidentially what I have to in my role, and trying to communicate as openly as I can without breaching that.
Yeah, absolutely. My goodness, you have been on quite the journey, and it's so inspiring. Particularly, I mean, I love a productive meeting that's got an agenda and a set outcome. If you could do your time again, or for any of those upcoming leaders, what would be your top 5 tips for them, or for yourself if you could go back in time?
My top 5 tips. I think learn very early what motivates the organisation culturally.
Ooh, good
one. And move on that as quickly as possible. And don't. And I've never done this, so I'm certainly saying, because I see it for myself in people that I hire in, where don't come in or assume or apply what you think's worked somewhere else. Really listen, get to understand how things and why things and decisions were made, and respectfully and slowly change them.
Yeah, I love that.
I think you really have to invest in yourself. I find it really interesting when people come to me and say, where is the company's training or development plan? I go, well, what would you like to do? Like, I'm a big believer, and I have the support of some amazing directors, where I don't believe in, yes, here's the mandatory training, here's things you can tap into, but no one gifted me my career. No one gifted me I paid for all my own learning and development, and continue to. So invest in yourself early, and make sure you just continuously have a growth mindset and never think you know better than anyone. And I think, if I was to go back in time really early on, I would always just hire people better and smarter and quicker than I am, and never be afraid. But I think you lose that when you're an up and coming leader. And I think the entrepreneurials of this world have that right. They specialize in a particular area, and they hire the specialists in. And you know what? It's all about communication and rhythm, and mastering the arts that allow you to get quicker and faster and better at what you do, really.
Love it. Absolutely love it. So learn very early on what motivates the organisation, to make sure you're not coming in and applying something that worked previously before but might be the wrong fit for that particular culture. Really listen to how and why decisions were made. Invest in yourself, in your own growth, developing a growth mindset and your own learning and development and professional development. Hire people that are smarter and better, and the experts or specialists in their field, absolutely. and getting that communication and rhythm. I love that last one. I think that's a favorite of mine, getting the rhythm in. Thank you so much for your time today, Renee, on a Friday on your white space. If people wanted to connect with you, where's the best place for them to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on LinkedIn. I won't always get back to you quickly, but I will get back to you.
It's like a Pantene ad, isn't it? It won't happen overnight, but it will happen.
Oh, no. I always ask, just be patient with me. I get there eventually.
Oh, my goodness. Amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today, Renee. You've been fantastic. I will add all of the links of what we've talked about today into the show notes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ellie. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this episode on the Made for More podcast, please make sure you subscribe to receive future episodes. And of course, 5-star reviews are always welcome on the Apple Podcast. If you'd like a copy of the show notes or any of the links mentioned today, check out madeformore.com.au/podcast. And of course, if we aren't connected already, you can find me in all the usual places. Ali Nitschke on LinkedIn, ali.madeformore on Facebook and Instagram. I hope you have an awesome week, and I'll catch you again soon. Bye-bye.